Hello everyone. In this video session we are going to talk about the poem Words composed by Edwin Thumboo. We'll first discuss the composer, the poet, then we'll discuss the central idea and the critical aspects related to this poem, and finally at the end of this video we'll discuss the text of the poem line by line. Edwin Thumboo, born in 1933, is a Singaporean poet, academician, critic, and an editor who is regarded as one of the pioneers of English literature in Singapore. Thumboo is considered as the unofficial poet laureate of Singapore. Since the early 1970s, he has had a profound influence over the course of literature in his native country, Singapore. Critics all of the world have praised his ability to depict the struggle of his native land, as Singapore, like India, has been one of the colony of the Britishers. Thumboo's works, which are a kind of exploration of Singapore's problems, complexities, and multidimensional cultures, have been considered significant in establishing an independent literary and political identity. Now let us discuss the poem Words. The poem Words highlights the immense importance of words in our life. Means, what is the importance of words that we use in our communication, in our day-to-day life? These words have great significance. According to the poet, the words that we use in our communication have tremendous impact on the listeners. So the poem is a kind of warning by the poet to the readers that we should use words in our communication for others with utmost care. The poet opines that words are themselves nothing unless these words are communicated in the form of dialogue along with proper gesture and appropriate mood. Means, the words get real meaning only when they are mixed up with proper gesture and appropriate mood by the speaker. In the poem, the poet gives a warning that the words can be dangerous, especially those words which we speak for others when someone is not present before you. Means, the words that we use in the absence of someone, these words may be dangerous sometime. He says that such words can be misrepresented by our undesirable friends or relatives for their specific purposes. Means, people may communicate your words suiting their own purposes. The poet further says that we speak words in a simple manner, but these simple words that we use in our communication, these simple words may be edited or may be modified and even manipulated by others, and they are changed completely with a different air and reach to the person for whom you have actually used the words in a totally changed form. So the simplicity and the plainness of the words is turned into a complication, a complicacy. So the simple words should be used with very, very care. According to the poet, Words create great problems in relations sometimes because words, if they are misinterpreted or miscommunicated or misrepresented, can hurt others and may finally corrupt your image and reputation. In the course of the poem, the poet discusses that words have power to reveal the state of one's mind. Means the words are actually the carrier, the bearer, the means through which you address your thoughts to the listeners. So he warns that words should be conveyed through proper tone and appropriate gestures. The poet elaborates his point by quoting an example. He says, if you have expressed your anger with angry words, it may hurt or displease others. The person may evaluate you according to your behavior and words that you have spoken. However, later your anger disappears and you return to your normal state. And when you tell others to forget your anger and that your friendship is not affected at all by your angry words, later when you are polite and considerate, you are honestly adopting your natural way of talking, it is very difficult for others to believe on you as you have already deformed your image by your angry words. You may attempt to justify yourself, but you may be regarded as a cunning person or a person of affectations. What the poet means to say is that words put great effect upon others. So, words once spoken can never be taken back. The poem gives a warning that we should always be careful while speaking words. In order to understand the poem completely, let us discuss the text of the poem line by line. The poem Words by Edwin Thumboo. Words are dangerous, especially the simple kind you leave behind for others, for undesirable relatives and assorted purposes. They are understood simply, edited, taken with a kind of air, a careful disregard. Their plainness complicates. The poem Words opens with a warning by the poet. The poet says that the words can be dangerous, especially those words which we speak for others when they are absent or when they are not present before you. He says such words can be misrepresented by your friends, undesirable friends, or by your undesirable relatives for their own motives, for their own specific purposes. He tells a reason also that although you have spoken your words in a very simple manner, but these simple words may be edited or modified or can also be manipulated by others depending on their motives. And these words, when they are edited or manipulated, are completely changed. Their meaning is changed, and finally, these words reach to the person for whom you have said in a totally changed form. So he concludes the first stanza by saying that
The simplicity and plainness of the words itself becomes a complicacy. Simple words create more complication. What the poet means to say is, the poet in these lines gives a kind of warning that the words, especially the simple words that we use in our communication in the absence of someone, can create great problem in relations. These words may hurt others and conclusively corrupt your image and reputation. The poet attempts to establish the point that the words can be deceptive, words may mislead others and corrupt or injure others when the words are edited or manipulated. In the following part of the poem, the poet explains the value of words by quoting an example. When you say, tell him please that the anger has come to pass, that friendship is not maimed, or please do come, but after the fever has been put aside. When you mean to be polite, careful, explicit, considerate, circumspect, adopting the proper tone, you are likely to be quoted as saying, he won't. In these lines, the poet explains the importance of words by giving an example. The poet says that words have the power to reveal the state of mind of someone. Means the words that we use are actually the carrier, the bearer of the feelings or our thought process. So while using words, we should be very careful. And when we are using words, these words should be conveyed through proper tone and with appropriate gesture. He says, the first person or the listener may evaluate your personality according to your behavior and words that you speak. And suppose in a situation when you have used such and such words and your words have given a wrong impression or words that have created a complication in your relation, may cannot be justified in later stages. For example, when you have used some words that have made someone annoyed or angry, and later when you try to justify your stand, justify your position, you may not be successful. He says that later when your anger disappears and you return to your normal state, and when you tell others later on to forget your anger and that the friendship is not affected by the words that you have used earlier, in such situation when you are trying to be polite, considerate and wise, and you are trying honestly to clear your stand, and here you are adopting your natural way of talking, in such situation later on it is very difficult for others to believe on you, as you have already deformed your image by your angry words that you have used earlier. In such situation, when you are trying to justify your stand, you may be regarded as a cunning person or a person of affectations. What the poet is trying to say here is that words put great effect upon others, and words once spoken can never be taken back. So we should always be careful while speaking words. Let us read further the last part of the poem. Words are neither valid, merciful, nor bad in themselves. Nothing unless used, urged, imported into dialogue, becoming part anger, part laughter, bruised, adding to the mood and gesture. In the last part of the poem, the poet attempts to establish his argument that the words in themselves are not corrupt or offensive, but it is the context in which words are used that makes them so. The poet says that the words are simply words. Words in themselves are neither valid nor merciful nor bad or good in themselves. They are good or bad only when they are used with a proper tone and in appropriate dialogue form. When words are spoken collectively in a meaningful and dialogue form, then only they have their importance. He says words are nothing unless communicated in the form of dialogue along with gestures and proper mood. In the last part of the poem, the poet discusses the relation of words with the poets and also tells the nature of the words. Words are words, except for us, they are not personalities. We make them into poems. The poet says words are not personalities. And in the case of poets, words are a part of the poems for expression of feelings, and it entirely depends on them, the poets, how they use words. Words are innocent if they are silent, but if they are used to express different moods in a dialogue, then only they become active and frolicsome. So, in the last part of the poem, the poet discusses the nature of the words, that the words are only words, they are not personalities unless they are used by the poets in appropriate way. So here ends the study of the text of the poem Words by Edwin Thumboo. Thank you.